The sun beat down on the shimmering turquoise waters off the coast of Florida, a relentless golden hammer on an anvil of cerulean. Below, a solitary figure, Liam Vance, glided with the grace of a manta ray. A seasoned salvage diver, his life had been a series of watery quests, each descent a promise of the unknown. Today, however, felt different. An unusual current had pulled him further north than his usual routes, towards an uncharted reef, its coral formations a labyrinth of shadows and light. His eyes, accustomed to the muted blues and greens of the deep, caught a fleeting glint. Not the familiar flash of discarded fishing gear or a scattered coin, but something older. He finned closer, his heart thumping a rhythm against his wetsuit. Buried partially under a coral overhang, a disk of dull, patinated bronze lay half-revealed. It was larger than any coin, perhaps the size of a dinner plate, its surface etched with intricate swirling patterns that seemed to shift and dance in the refracted light. A chill, unrelated to the ocean's temperature, snaked down his spine. This wasn't natural. It wasn't modern. Carefully, Liam began to clear away the sand and small stones clinging to it. The disk felt surprisingly light for its size, yet strangely robust. As more of it emerged, he noticed an unsettling symmetry to the carvings, almost mechanical in their precision, yet clearly handcrafted. He couldn't place the style. It wasn't Mayan, not Aztec, nothing he'd ever seen in his extensive collection of archaeological texts. A sense of awe, mixed with a growing unease, settled over him. He knew, with an instinct honed by years beneath the waves, that he had stumbled upon something extraordinary, something that would change more than just his life. Bringing the disk to the surface was an arduous task. The sheer weight of the water around it made it cumbersome, but Liam's determination was unwavering. As he broke the surface, the bright sunlight glinted off the ancient bronze, revealing details he couldn't discern below. The patterns seemed to writhe, almost alive under the harsh light. A knot of anticipation tightened in his stomach. He secured the disk to his boat, his mind already racing with questions. What was this artifact? Who made it? And why was it here, lost to the depths for what felt like centuries? He knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a discovery. It was the opening of a door to a mystery far grander than he could comprehend. The small, cluttered office of Dr. Aris Thorne, a reclusive but renowned archaeologist specializing in pre-Columbian cultures, smelled of old books and strong coffee. Liam, still buzzing from his discovery, carefully placed the bronze disc on Thorne's worn wooden desk. Thorne, a man whose grey hair was as wild as his theories, adjusted his spectacles, his eyes, usually distant and academic, suddenly sharp, with an almost predatory interest. "Remarkable," Thorne murmured, his voice a low rumble. He ran a gloved finger over the intricate patterns on the disc, his brow furrowing in concentration. "The metallurgy. It's unlike anything I've encountered. The composition, the oxidation. It suggests immense age, but the craftsmanship is astonishingly refined." He pulled out a magnifying glass, examining the etchings with meticulous detail. "Look at these spirals, Liam. They're not decorative. They seem to tell a story, or perhaps even a sequence." Liam, leaning against a bookshelf crammed with ancient texts, watched Thorne intently. "I thought it might be something Mayan or even Olmec, but you're saying no." Thorne shook his head slowly. "The iconography doesn't align. There's a subtle geometric precision here that speaks of a different hand, a different understanding of the world. And the scale. This isn't a mere ornament. It has purpose." He paused, his gaze fixed on a particular section of the disc. "See this recurring motif? It resembles a stylized constellation, but not one we recognize from any known ancient star charts." A silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the distant hum of city traffic. Thorne picked up his phone, his fingers already dialing. "I need to get Dr. Evelyn Reed in on this. Her expertise in ancient languages and symbols is unparalleled. This demands a broader perspective." Liam felt a surge of excitement, mixed with a growing sense of gravity. Thorne's intensity was infectious, and the sheer mystery of the disc was becoming palpable. He had found something truly significant, something that was already drawing the attention of minds far greater than his own. As Thorne spoke into the phone, arranging for Reed's immediate arrival, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that the disc wasn't just an artifact. It was a silent question, an ancient riddle waiting to be solved. And the answer, whatever it was, felt like it held profound implications for their understanding of history. The arrival of Dr. Evelyn Reed brought a new dynamic to Thorne's cluttered office. Sharp, analytical, and possessing an encyclopedic knowledge of ancient scripts, Reed approached the disc with a mixture of academic rigor and palpable excitement. She meticulously photographed every inch of its surface, sketching details and cross-referencing patterns with databases of known ancient symbols. "The recurring motif Thorne mentioned," Reed began, her voice crisp and clear, "isn't a constellation in the traditional sense. It's more of a diagrammatic representation of movement, possibly celestial, but interpreted through a unique lens." She traced a series of interconnected lines on the disc. "And these smaller symbols, they form a kind of pictographic language, incredibly dense and symbolic. It's not a phonetic script, not like hieroglyphs or cuneiform." Thorne nodded, pacing the small room. "So, it's not a historical record in the conventional sense. It's something else. A map? An instruction manual?" "Perhaps both," Reed mused, her eyes still glued to the bronze surface. "There's a mathematical elegance to the arrangement of these symbols, almost like a formula. And the way they intertwine with the larger movement diagrams, it suggests a complex system of knowledge." She pointed to a section of the disc that seemed to depict a series of concentric circles. "These aren't simply decorative rings, they indicate time or progression, perhaps cycles." Liam, feeling a bit out of his depth in the academic jargon, tried to interject. But what could it be for? What kind of civilization would create something like this? Thorne and Reed exchanged a glance. "That," Thorne said, "is the central question. No known pre-Columbian civilization had the metallurgical capabilities, the symbolic language, or the apparent understanding of celestial mechanics suggested by this disc." Reed continued, "The erosion patterns on the disc also suggest it's been exposed to salt water for a very long time, confirming Liam's discovery location. Yet the preservation of the intricate details is remarkable. This metal, whatever its exact composition, is incredibly resilient." She paused, her brow furrowing. "There's a subtle unease to some of the depictions, a sense of urgency, almost a warning, conveyed through the symbolism. The air in the room grew heavy with the weight of their collective realization. They were not just decoding an ancient artifact. They were beginning to glimpse into a culture, and possibly a purpose, that defied everything they thought they knew about early human history. Days bled into nights as Thorne, Reed, and Liam immersed themselves in the enigmatic bronze disc. Their initial excitement had slowly morphed into a quiet, almost reverent obsession. Reed, painstakingly translating the pictographic symbols, began to piece together a disturbing narrative. The recurring celestial movement diagrams, initially thought to be a form of ancient astronomy, started to reveal a more ominous purpose. "It's a chronicle of celestial events," Reed announced one evening, her voice strained from hours of intense focus. "But not just observations. It's a record of a specific devastating event." She pointed to a series of etched lines that converged towards a central point on the disc. These symbols, they depict a massive impact, not an asteroid or a comet in the conventional sense. Something different, something that caused immense atmospheric disruption. Thorne, who had been studying the metallurgical composition, looked up sharply. That would explain the extreme heat resistance of the bronze. If this civilization anticipated such an event, they would need materials capable of surviving it. Liam, listening intently, felt a shiver. "Are you saying this disk is a warning from an ancient civilization about some kind of disaster?" Reed nodded slowly. "More than a warning, it's a historical account, but also a prophecy, or perhaps a cyclical pattern. The symbols suggest a previous occurrence and the potential for a recurrence." Her finger traced a particularly unsettling symbol, resembling a fractured shield. "This represents a global fracturing, a societal collapse following the event. And this," she pointed to another symbol, a stylized teardrop falling from an eye, "indicates profound loss and despair." The atmosphere in the room grew heavy. The intricate beauty of the disk now seemed to mask a terrifying message. The sophisticated knowledge of this unknown civilization, their ability to predict or document such a cataclysmic event, raised more questions than answers. Who were they? How did they know? And what happened to them? The implications were staggering. If such an advanced society was wiped out by this celestial impact, what hope did modern humanity have? The bronze disk, once a curious artifact, now felt like a silent, chilling echo from a vanished world, a grim reminder of cosmic indifference. Don't miss the unfolding mystery. Subscribe to the channel to follow the terrifying secrets hidden within the bronze disk. The urgency to understand the disk's origin intensified after Reed's revelations. Thorne, combining his geological knowledge with the celestial data deciphered by Reed, began to focus on identifying potential impact sites or geological anomalies that could corroborate the disk's narrative. Liam, with his diving expertise, became crucial in this new phase, tasked with exploring the seabed around the discovery location with renewed scrutiny. The patterns on the disk, specifically those indicating the trajectory of the celestial body, suggest a point of origin somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, Thorne explained, poring over nautical charts. And the energy signature implied by the symbols would have left a significant, albeit likely submerged, impact crater. Liam embarked on a series of deeper, more extensive dives. The ocean, usually a realm of serene solitude for him, now felt charged with a new, almost sinister presence. He meticulously mapped the seabed, using sonar and remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, to scan areas too deep or dangerous for human exploration. The days were long, filled with the monotonous hum of equipment and the endless blue, but the weight of their discovery propelled him forward. Then, after weeks of fruitless searching, an anomaly appeared on his sonar screen, a massive circular depression on the ocean floor, unlike any natural geological formation he had ever encountered. It was vast, ancient, and eerily symmetrical. He deployed an ROV with a high-resolution camera. What the camera revealed sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. Scattered across the floor of the immense crater were strange, geometrically precise ruins, structures that could not have been formed by nature. They were partially buried, encrusted with centuries of marine growth, but their artificiality was undeniable. He immediately contacted Thorne and Reed. Their excitement was palpable, even over the crackling satellite phone. "Liam, this is it," Thorne's voice boomed. "This is what the disk was pointing to. This is where they came from, or where they built. It's an underwater city." The implications were staggering. An unknown, technologically advanced civilization existed not in myth, but deep beneath the waves, wiped out by a cosmic event hinted at by the very artifact Liam had found. The bronze disk was not just a warning, it was a map, leading them to the submerged remnants of a forgotten world. The ocean, once a source of wonder, now held the terrifying secrets of a vanished people, secrets that were just beginning to surface. News of the underwater city remained under wraps, a carefully guarded secret between Thorne, Reed, and Liam. They understood the global implications of such a discovery and the potential for panic, exploitation, and scientific chaos. Thorne secured a small private grant, and a specialized deep-sea submersible was chartered, equipped for archaeological excavation. The first descent into the submerged city was breathtaking and unnerving. The submersible's powerful lights cut through the perpetual twilight of the deep, illuminating colossal structures of an unknown, obsidian-like material. They were unlike any architecture on Earth, a blend of organic curves and sharp, precise angles, seemingly designed to withstand unimaginable pressures. The city was remarkably preserved, a silent testament to its builders' advanced engineering. As they navigated through the silent avenues, illuminated by the submersible's lights, they found more artifacts. Tools of unknown purpose, intricate works of art depicting the same celestial events seen on the bronze disc, and even what appeared to be preserved organic remains encased in crystalline structures. Reed, meticulously documenting every detail, noticed a recurring symbol carved into the walls of what appeared to be a central plaza, the same stylized constellation from Liam's disc, but now larger, more ominous. Thorne, analyzing the architectural layout, remarked, "This wasn't just a settlement, it was a highly organized society. The infrastructure, the material science, it dwarfs anything we knew existed in that era." He pointed to a section of a collapsed dome. "The damage here, it aligns perfectly with the impact event described on the disc, a sudden catastrophic force from above." Liam, piloting the submersible with a quiet awe, felt an overwhelming sense of melancholic wonder. To witness the remnants of an entire civilization lost to the depths was a profoundly moving experience. Yet, beneath the wonder, a chilling question persisted. If this advanced society, with all its knowledge and technology, could not escape its fate, what did that say about humanity's vulnerability? The city was not just a historical find. It was a grim mirror reflecting the fragility of existence, a silent monument to a future that could befall them all. Back on the surface, the discovery of the submerged city intensified their efforts to fully decipher the bronze disc and the newly found artifacts. The crystalline organic remains found within the city were particularly disturbing. Initial analysis revealed that they were humanoid, but with subtle physiological differences, hinting at a species that had adapted to unique environmental pressures, perhaps even a different atmospheric composition. Reed, surrounded by the newly retrieved artifacts, focused on a series of intricate carvings found on a large, wall-like structure within the sunken city. These carvings, far more detailed than those on the original disc, presented a more complete and terrifying narrative. They depicted not just the celestial impact, but the preceding events, a sky filled with strange, shimmering lights, the panic of the populace, and ultimately, their desperate attempts to escape the inevitable. "It's a complete timeline," Reed said, her voice barely a whisper, her face pale. "This civilization, they knew it was coming. They built this city as a sanctuary, a last resort, anticipating a catastrophic cosmic event." She pointed to a series of symbols showing figures entering large, self-sustaining structures sealed off from the outside world. They tried to survive by isolating themselves, but the force of the impact, it was too immense. It fractured the very crust of the earth. Thorne, examining the material of the structures from the city, confirmed Reed's theory. This material, we're calling it abyssalite, has incredible shock absorption properties. It was designed to withstand immense pressure, even tectonic shifts. But even it wasn't enough. Liam felt a cold dread creep into his bones. So, the disc. It wasn't just a record of their destruction. It was their final message, a warning broadcast across time. Reed nodded gravely. Yes. The recurring constellation on the disk, and now on these city carvings, isn't just a constellation. It's the celestial signature of the incoming object, and the patterns around it indicate a cyclical return. The message is clear. The object that destroyed them is on a trajectory to return. The realization hit them with the force of a physical blow. The ancient civilization hadn't just been wiped out by a random cosmic event. They had been destroyed by an object that followed a predictable, terrifying orbit. The bronze disk, then, was not just an archaeological marvel. It was a dire prophecy, a ticking clock from a lost age, warning humanity of an impending, unavoidable doom. The world, when they eventually revealed their findings, would not just be terrified. It would be paralyzed by the knowledge of its own inevitable fate. This is just the beginning of a terrifying truth. For the full story and to support more incredible discoveries, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The weight of their discovery became unbearable. Thorne, Reed, and Liam knew they could no longer keep the truth hidden. After weeks of intense debate and preparation, a press conference was scheduled. The world watched, unaware of the bombshell about to drop. Thorne, usually reserved, spoke with a gravitas that commanded attention. He presented the bronze disk, the images of the submerged city, and the meticulously deciphered narratives. He detailed the advanced civilization, their knowledge of celestial mechanics, and their catastrophic end. The room, initially filled with the murmur of journalists, fell into stunned silence as Reed then presented the chilling revelation, the cyclical nature of the celestial impact, and the imminent return of the object that had destroyed the ancient civilization. Based on the astronomical data embedded in these artifacts, Reed's voice, though clear, trembled slightly. We have calculated a projected return trajectory. The impact event that wiped out this civilization occurred approximately 12,000 years ago, and the next cycle, it's not centuries away, it's within our lifetime. Chaos erupted, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and the world watched in disbelief and then in growing terror. News channels cut live to the press conference, anchors struggling to process the implications. Governments held emergency meetings. The scientific community scrambled to verify the claims, but the undeniable evidence presented by Thorne and Reed, coupled with the unprecedented discovery of a lost advanced civilization, slowly began to sink in. Liam, standing silently beside the two academics, watched the global reaction unfold. He had found a strange disk in the tranquil ocean, a seemingly innocuous object. Now, that disk had brought the world to its knees, facing an existential threat, unseen since the dawn of time. The initial skepticism quickly gave way to widespread fear. Markets crashed, civil unrest simmered, and the fragile veneer of modern society began to crack under the weight of an ancient, terrifying prophecy suddenly made real. The future, once a boundless horizon, now felt like a rapidly shrinking circle. The initial global panic slowly gave way to a desperate, unified effort. Governments and scientific institutions, initially paralyzed by fear, now channeled their resources into a frantic race against time. The bronze disk and the artifacts from the sunken city became the focal point of unprecedented international collaboration. Teams of astrophysicists, engineers, and archaeologists descended upon Thorne's lab and the site of the submerged city. They verified Reed's astronomical calculations, confirming the terrifying accuracy of the ancient civilization's predictions. Satellite telescopes were repurposed, scanning the depths of space for the predicted celestial object. The consensus was grim. The object, though still too distant for visual confirmation, was indeed on its way. Thorne and Reed became reluctant global figures, their every word scrutinized, every new discovery from the sunken city devoured by a terrified public. They worked tirelessly, dissecting the ancient technology found within the city, hoping to uncover any defensive strategies or warnings that could help humanity. The abyssalite material, once thought indestructible, showed cracks from the original impact, revealing that even their advanced defenses had a limit. Liam, meanwhile, found himself an unlikely hero, his expertise in deep-sea salvage now invaluable for retrieving more artifacts from the submerged city. He witnessed firsthand the awe and despair of the international teams as they explored the ancient ruins. The ghostly remains of the civilization served as a constant, haunting reminder of what was to come. He saw scientists weep as they found evidence of the ancient people's last moments, their attempts to preserve their knowledge and their world. The world held its breath. Plans were drawn, then discarded. Defensive strategies were proposed, debated, and often deemed futile against a threat of such scale. The disk, once a silent historical artifact, now screamed a warning across the millennia, urging humanity to find a solution. The clock was ticking, and the terrifying truth was that the ancient civilization, far more advanced, had failed. The question that haunted every living soul was, could modern humanity, with all its technological prowess, find a different outcome, or were they destined to follow the same devastating path? The world braced itself. Despite the frantic, unified efforts, the sheer scale of the celestial object, now clearly visible in the night sky as a growing, ominous presence, left little room for hope. Its approach was relentless, a silent, terrifying harbinger of an ancient prophecy fulfilled. Cities around the globe began evacuations, but there was nowhere truly safe from an impact of this magnitude. Thorne, Reed, and Liam, now at a temporary command center, watched the live feeds of the approaching object. The bronze disc, their initial catalyst for this global nightmare, lay on a table, its ancient symbols seemingly glowing with a grim finality. They had learned so much from the vanished civilization, their advanced mathematics, their understanding of cosmic cycles, their desperate, ultimately futile attempts at survival. They faced it with such courage, Reed whispered, her eyes fixed on the screen, showing the ever-enlarging celestial body. They knew, and they still tried to warn us. Thorne, his face etched with exhaustion and profound sadness, placed a hand on the disc. Their legacy isn't just a warning, Evelyn. It's a testament to the human spirit, even in the face of the unimaginable. Liam, who had faced the ocean's fury countless times, felt a strange calm. He had brought this truth to the world, and now he would face its consequences alongside everyone else. The fear was still there, but it was tempered by a sense of shared destiny. The world, once fragmented, was now united in its final moments, connected by a prophecy from a long-lost past. The final moments arrived not with a bang, but with an overwhelming silent light. The sky ignited, a blinding, terrifying brilliance that swallowed the stars. The ground beneath them trembled, a deep, resonant rumble that shook the very foundations of the earth. The ancient bronze disk, illuminated by the catastrophic light, shimmered, its symbols briefly flaring as if in a last, defiant act of communication. The terrifying truth, unearthed from the deep, had come full circle. The cycle, predicted by a forgotten people, had finally devastatingly completed its course. The world discovered a terrifying truth, and then the world was no more. This is the end of our journey into the terrifying unknown. Thank you for watching and for subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us bring more incredible stories to light.